taking a break between doing chores. I don't think we're really going to have a game night tonight. A couple of the bros have called out because they are competing in a barbecue competition. Which I mean, come over and play board games or go somewhere where it's wall to wall, delicious, delicious barbecue. I mean, what would you do? I mean, I kind of know what I would do. But then again, I am a carnivore, which makes no sense because I am a self described carnivore. But one of the favorite things my wife cooks me for dinner, which she cooked tonight, is squash and zucchini casserole. So it's basically squash, zucchini, onion, like some beef bouillon to give it a little bit of depth or whatever, and then casserole. So, uh, yeah, yeah. So what I have been doing, I will show you, and I found something out in the garage while I was rooting around that really brought back the old days of, being pissed off all the time while playing a game. But let's show off. Fucking son. Yeah, okay. That's backwards, obviously. But what you're looking at is a couple of command stands, two Malkador heavy tanks, and some infantry. And that's just about enough infantry to do the compulsory parts of the infantry you're going to need. But no fear out there, guys. I have a Baneblade, another bunch of Malkadors, and at least two tank squads of, and by squads, I mean like 5 or 8 tanks. I'd have to look at however many came in a box. Lehman Russ Strike Squadron, right here. I got it right here, so I can look. How many tanks come in the Lehman Russ Strike Squadron? Let's see. 8. So I've got 2 Lehman Russ Strike Squadrons. So probably, I hate the. Anyway, probably anyone who plays against my army is going to see a lot of tanks. A lot of tanks. And the other thing I picked up, which I believe is also, I think, for my boys. Let's see here. Solar Auxiliary, yeah. An 8-piece artillery set unit. I will probably do them all as basilisks because I like that range, Might not hit as hard as the Medusas, but there's just something cool about having, your artillery sitting in the back, maybe guarded by some infantry, and then just going balls to the wall with armor and, whatever else. So far, I've put together one box of the Solar Auxiliary. See, look at that. Let's move it a little closer. The Imperial Guard. I'm not going to call them that. Stupid, whatever. Hey, bro. Solar Auxiliary. I put together one box, and that gives you 2 tercios, if you even want to call them that, because they're very small, with laser rifles. Of course, you do have the option, if you have the second box, which I do, to combine those 2 4-unit or 20-man units into one 8-man unit, or 8 base unit. So, That's kind of cool. So you can, I mean, especially if you're trying to defend something, you kind of want a lot of bodies on it. Hello, brother. How are you? The other thing I've got, which I can add directly to the tercios or filled as independent units, are hell, I forget what these are even called in 40K. Stalkers, maybe. Except the 30K stalker is actually better, I think, because it comes with dual missile launchers and the multi-melta to handle infantry. So it can kind of deal with a lot of different targets. And the last thing I've got is enough figures to make a unit, 4 bases of Ogryn. Of course, these are 30K Ogryn, so apparently they're a little bit smarter and also cybernetically enhanced. So there you go. Or I could just add 2 bases of the Ogryn directly to the infantry tercios and build some kind of weird combined arms thing. So, Hunger, are you going to jump in or what? What are you going to do? And then the last thing I got to talk about so far is bases of infantrymen with flamethrowers. These can be fielded as support units. Y'all got the stomach bug. They can be fielded as support units, or you can pay to have them directly attached to your tercio. So I don't know what would be better. I kind of feel like putting them directly with the tercio would be better. And then, of course, the last thing is your veterans. And I know you guys can't see these guys great, and I apologize for that. But your Imperial Guard veterans in 30K are equipped with power axes and laser pistols, I think, or Volkite pistols, one of the two, right? And again, they can be fielded as their own unit, or you can add a unit of as many as you want, as long as it's increments of 2 to a tercio. One thing I don't have, and I wish I did have for the Imperialis, the Imperial Guard Army, is the transports. Tossing cookies and screaming memes. So at some point in the far future or in the near future, depending, I may have to look into picking up some Imperial Guard transports. And the ones I'm looking at are the Imperial Guard lighters, which are just little unarmed, unarmored flying machines. And they're really cheap. And I could see using them to, well, according to the rules, they're good for rapidly moving, infantry units around the table. So now how this is all going to work out, I don't know. And then if I have enough points worth of infantrymen and I want to get real froggy, like Froggy Fresh, my favorite rapper of all time, I can throw a, baby Titan in there just to be whatever. Even though, honestly, I kind of wonder if the Baneblade might not just kill the Titan. Nah, the Titan probably win. It's got void shields, but a big unit of Malkador tanks with Vanquisher cannons will eat it alive. I'm pretty sure. I mean, a Warhound Titan is not that big of a deal. I can tell you that right now. Not that big of a deal. In other news, I was out in the garage getting other stuff ready to put on the market for sale. And what's crazy is, I'll tell you what's crazy. I have a box. That's right. That's crazy. No, I have a box and it's just full of stuff that I just dumped in there because I didn't like care for it. But I started digging through it because for some of my sci-fi units, I've been using these 1 inch. I believe these are, I forget what company makes them, but they're 1 inch slotted hex bases. So they're smaller than Battletech hex bases. They're about the same size as your 1 inch round base, except they're hex bases. And I thought, you know, it'd be cool. I'm going to mount all of my Star Frontiers player character miniatures, you know, my Yazirians and Drowsites and whatever on these hex bases. I think that would be cool, right? So I started doing that. Well, the box that had the lot of them in it, the more I dig through the box looking for the hex bases, the more I keep finding crazy stuff. Like, for example, hope it's Chuck. Nope, it's Chuck. Okay. I'm taking a shot on you, Chuck.
Hello, brother.
Oh, okay. I got you. Nope, Chuck Testa. I love that. So what
Yeah.
I find in this box, though it is missing a head or two, but that don't matter. I've got plenty of extra heads laying around, is a pumpkin. Now, some of you are going to be like, WTF, that's World War II German something, right? What in the hell is a pumpkin? Apparently, it was a type of a recoilless rifle type artillery anti-tank gun thing. And it was only ever issued to units like one Grossdeutschland, Panzer Grenadiers, stuff like that. And typically, to make it even crazier, it would be towed behind the command half track. And so you can see I already put a new plastic German head on that guy. So there you go. There you go. And I start looking through and actually putting stands and stuff from World War II into another box. And it turns out that I thought I'd given away my Italian army. Apparently not. And apparently my Russian army, Red Army, is, you know, alive and well in that box. And then on top of that, there's like at least a company of Germans with half tracks, including one of them with the freaking Hungar. Help me out. What was the name of the half track that had the big ass rockets on the side of it?
Katushka?
Nope, that would be the Russian one that had the multi-launch rockets on the back. The Germans had the one that had like 3 gigantic ass rockets on the side of it,
I
and
don't
they
remember.
boom,
Right.
boom, boom.
I don't feel good.
It was mostly issued to like engineering companies and stuff, like Panzer Pioneers. So yeah, I got one in perfect condition, painted up, and I'm sitting here. Kugelwerfer, maybe
Yeah, that sounds right.
something Werfer. I mean, Werfer just means thrower. I'm pretty sure.
I know what you're talking about. I
Of
just can't.
course you do. We've played enough of these stupid games for you to recognize any unit I put on the table. But
They ain't stupid. They're awesome. Ugh. I just ate some Jello. He froze. He probably thought this coyote was alive. This deer was alive. Or this pheasant was alive. But you're wrong. They've been taxidermized. They're dead. They've been taxidermized by Chuck Testa. I make the most lifelike dead animals anywhere. Period. The Nebelwolf. What is up, historical doppelganger?
Historical doppelganger. No, the Nebelwerfer, or sometimes called the Screaming Mimi, that was the artillery piece. What I'm talking about was when they would attach the giant freaking rocket launchers on the side of a Hanomag. And typically it would have 3 on a side. And then they would, of course, that was only Pioneer or Engineer units that would get them. And they would launch the 6 rockets and then they'd haul ass to try to avoid counter battery. And the rockets were big too. They were like 100 and something millimeter.
While you were frozen and gone, I was telling about Ojai Valley taxidermy.
Oh, yeah.
Most realistic, the most lifelike dead animals anywhere. Period.
Anywhere. In Ojai Valley, California. If you look at Chuck Testa, right? Picture him with no beard or a pointy beard, a different mustache, and really long hair and no glasses.
Well, there he is right there.
I know, I'm saying, but look at him, and now take away the glasses, give him really long hair, a pointed goatee-like thing with a mustache.
Shadwell.
Do you think Shadow could have been Chuck Testa and now he's just in hiding?
He could have been, but why would you be in hiding if you were that awesome?
Anyway, guys, I can't stand not knowing what this thing is, so I'm going to look it up.
Brother, I'm going to bounce and try to sleep. I feel like poop.
Let's type in Hano Mag. We're being very, very informal. Hanomag rocket launcher.
Oh, wow. Now we've got a flood warning.
Which, like I said, would generally only be given to Pioneer units to take out hardened locations. Okay, so. Okay. Corgi Hanomag FDKF 25-1 with rocket launcher, but they're not saying what the name of it is because,
Historical doppelganger said maybe it's the Panzerwerfer.
I think it is the Panzerwerfer. Yes.
That sounds familiar to me.
Yeah. I think
you hear that lightning?
I did.
We got a flood warning now.
So anyway, I'm digging through the junk box, which half a dozen times a week I walk by and look at and think about just picking up and throwing it in the garbage.
All right, you glad you did?
Yeah, there's a freaking painted up Panzerwerfer in there. And 3 different bolt action armies. Complete with heavy weapons. I even have an American army in there. And the American army is 100%. My American unit is 100% mounted in half tracks. The American half track.
I'm gonna go, brother.
You go.
I don't feel good, but I love you.
Well, I like you a little bit too.
Oh, you're a liar. I'm like in your top 10.
Well, I mean, don't undersell yourself, dude. You're in my top 5.
If there's game tonight, or you have people over,
there is no game.
Well, if people come over to play with board games,
nobody's coming over.
All right, tell your wife I said hi. Then tell people I said hi.
Okay.
Love you.
Yeah, I think Panzerwerfer sounds about right. I mean, like I said, Werfer just means thrower or launcher. And Nebel meant smoke because the Nebelwerfer, even though it was designed to throw chemical agents, Adolf Hitler would never allow that because of his trauma from World War I. So even though there were idiots in the German regime that were like, yeah, let's start chucking nerve gas at the Russians, it was actually old Adolf that was like, nope, we will not be doing that. And that's very smart of him, because had he started chucking chemical agents at the Russians, you know, the Red Army, then it would have been just all out, full on, you know, Europe would just got totally effed. Because, you know, we would have been dropping some baloney on people. Stalin would have been dropping shit on people. So, you know, the British would have been shooting rockets full of freaking Agent Orange or some whatever mustard gas across the freaking, it would have been the worst thing ever. You know, Europe would probably still be all effed up today if any side had thought it would have been a good idea to start chucking chemical and biological weapons. So we can all thank God that did not happen. I mean, Germany will cease to exist. I mean, think about it. I mean, after the horrible atrocities the Russians committed upon the German civilians as they moved through, and then the fact that we were bombing them day and night for months, and then changed the explosives in those bombs to chemical agents. You know, Berlin would still be a contaminated zone where nothing could live, you know? And so would probably Moscow and Stalingrad and, you know, London. You know, when the BF 110s and the Hinkles were flying over, and like the bombs they were dropping were full of freaking sarin gas instead of anyway, so yeah. As a matter of fact, you know how people are always talking about how we need a new grimdark game? There's a grimdark game for you. Set it in World War II, except have the Germans at some point during the war start using chemical agents, and then just extrapolate everything that happens after that, and then extrapolate that the war never ends, because the vast numbers of the Red Army that were pushing across the steppes never make it, because they all get caught by sarin gas and shit like that. And, you know, all the major population centers in Europe are just reduced to, I don't know, cannibal and infested hellholes, you know, and you got to worry about drinking any water because, you know, you don't know what's in that water, you know. So then you would basically have people from whichever armies all walking around in full chemical gear, mop gear with masks on, living in underground bunkers, and still trying to maybe, in a way, carry out the war. I mean, the only country that might have a good time of it would be America, because of how far away America is. So maybe America doesn't get, you know, chemicaled all to whatever, or maybe it does. I mean, you know, it's your setting. Make it up. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right? So the Nebelwerfers were used basically to fire explosives and smoke to cover the movement of, you know, infantry and armor units. So yeah, they acted as basically artillery pieces, and they were actually really good at it. But the Germans never really made a lot of them. There is a full up armored half track that has a Nebelwerfer mounted on the back, kind of like a Katusha, but way more freaking complicated. But the thing I'm talking about is it was basically just a rig that they could put on a Hanomag, and it had 3 big freaking rockets on each side. And the range wasn't great, but the destructive power was amazing. And pretty much they only issued them to their Pioneer units. And it was kind of a, oh, there's like some sort of trenches and fortifications up ahead. Bring up the whatever, and, you know. Drop some baloney on that ass and see how that works. And yeah. I think the reason I have that Werfer is because at some point it was my intention to make a Pioneer company to play bolt action with. You know, nothing but Pioneer troops, which I have to admit had an advantage over a lot of troops that was absolute bullshit. And that is that Pioneer troops could take flamethrower teams. Flammenwerfers. And in the original bolt action, I don't know if it's ever been fixed, flamethrowers were OP as shit. Like, you know, if your flamethrower team got within range of an enemy tank, that was just a dead enemy tank. You know what I mean? You got a squad hiding out in a bunker somewhere. Flamethrower gets close. Yeah, that's a dead squad, you know. It was so OP. But that was back in the era of if everyone dismounted from a Hanomag, it couldn't fire its machine gun. And when the designers of the game, Warlord Games, was asked why in the hell they would do that, they said for balance, because they didn't want the German players using Hanomags as just mobile, you know, MG42 things. And I guess enough people got mad that they changed their mind. Because in the second edition, yeah, you could absolutely fire an empty Hanomag, the machine gun. And the reason is because the Hanomag had 2 crew. Every Hanomag had 2 crew. It had the driver, and it had the vehicle commander / machine gunner. So by altering that in the hopes of game balance, they were basically telling history to go F itself. And I don't think they understood that the main reason a lot of people wanted to play their game was the historical aspect of it, right? So, I mean, what's next? You gonna like say that Sherman tanks can't have 50 cows mounted on the commander's cupola or something? I mean, that's the kind of stupid shit, you know? And the other issue I have too with a lot of World War II games, I understand it too. I mean, remember, you know, I understand it. There's a really good chance I actually did have relatives that died in the Shoah, but you know, that's history. It happened. It sucks. I get it, you know, but it does sometimes feel like that World War II war games are specifically going out of their way to make the Germans extra weak. And yeah, of course we want our U.S. airborne guys to drop in and just kick everybody's ass. I mean, as a red-blooded American, hell yeah, we want the 82nd to drop in and start sweeping them out. But at the same time, as a war gamer, when you start changing rules for like, because the American half track with the 50 cal, guess what? That thing could fire. And a 50 cal is a way better weapon than any MG42 ever dreamed of being. I mean, the MG42 might have a high rate of fire, but none of that means a thing when that freaking Ma Deuce starts barking, because that thing will shoot right through light vehicles, like an 8 Rad, any scout vehicle that anyone you're fighting with has. Yeah, that freaking Ma Deuce will eat them up and send them home to their mamas. And that's something that I just never liked about it. There's a video game that does that too. Cross of Iron. I've played that game and I've tested it. And by tested it, I mean I've like refused to go to war. I've tried to change my government from National Socialism to Representative Republic. It's like I've done everything you can politically to change the Germans into not being the bad guy Germans, you know? And no matter what I do, the French still invade. It's like if I don't invade France, they invade me. And then as soon as France invades me, like half the world declares war. And I'm sitting here like, I didn't do anything at all. You know what I mean? And a lot of times, because all I did is sit there and build up factories and shit like that, I can crush the French, but then now I got to fight England and Russia and Poland and everybody. And it's just like, it's like basically the game takes your ability to do anything peaceful away from you. You cannot try to play the Germans as peaceful in that game. I don't think it was Cross of Iron. I think it was Making History, actually. So, and you know, that kind of aggravated me. That kind of pissed me off because it's just like, you know, why play a game that's going to force you to, you know, play the way it wants you to instead of the way you want to, you know? So, you know, just to be a jerk, what you do is you log off as the Germans and you log on as the Americans, but the same campaign. And then as the Americans, you invade Canada, immediately invade Canada and Mexico, right? And then England declares war on America. But then Japan never attacks America. It's really weird, right? And then Japan spends all of its time running amok through China. And then you switch off and go back to Germany. And all of a sudden, it's a lot easier because the UK's crapping their pants because they're at war with America and America is steamrolling Canada into the ground, right? Because by 1943 or whatever, the U.S. Army is just freaking, you know, forget about it if you think you're going to stop it, you know. And the Canadians, as tough as our frozen brothers to the north might be, they just don't got enough people. And right, and the next thing you know, you've just got divisions of American troops everywhere. And then England's got to try to figure out a way to get across the Atlantic to save their Commonwealth, except America's got just a much better Navy than the British do at that time. And then, you know, you kick back and not get involved in any war as the Germans and just laugh, right? Because nobody's messing with you. You're just sitting there, you know, building towns and industry and coal mines and just being like, damn, that shit looks like it sucks out there. Sure am glad I'm in here. You know what I mean? Yeah, only I would buy a war game set in World War II and then go out of my way to not do anything to antagonize anybody as the Germans. But like I said, I did it because I wanted to test if the game was being fair. And I proved for a fact that the game was not being fair. And at that point, I'm like, well, F this game, you know. I mean, if you're going to be a game designer making war games, do things historically accurate. Do not, like, tell me that I'm playing in this big sandbox game, but in reality, you know, no matter what I do, the French are always going to attack in 1939 or something. Because, you know, because that pissed me off. That's what I'm saying. You know? Well, yeah, it is a crazy alternative timeline. And if you don't figure out a way somehow to sue for peace and become friends with the United States, you still lose. Because once America has completely crushed Canada and then ran all the way through Mexico down to frickin' Argentina and made this giant freaking conglomerate, you know, the Western Hemisphere is now one country. Congratulations, right? Eventually, they're going to come for you, you know? Plus, there's other countries that declare wars on them, like France and shit like that, right? So the Americans, the first thing they do is start landing troops in Ireland and Iceland, and then they invade England, and that takes a little while, but they take England out. And now you've got Americans in France, except they're not the goody two shoes, you know, 82nd Airborne, we're here to liberate the continent Americans. It's like they're Imperial America. You know what I mean? It's like, welcome to the Empire of the United States. Yes, at one time we used to be a republic, but like the Romans, we decided F all that shit. We are now an empire, and you're going to be a part of it, it turns out, because I don't know why the game was designed that way. But if you do that, once the Americans start chugging, boy, they don't stop. They just keep going all the way to Australia. Because, you know, when they invade Canada, of course, England and all of the Commonwealth nations declare war, right? Well, that includes Canada, parts of Africa, New Zealand, Jersey, like all kinds of little countries. And in the game, the Americans, yeah, they don't take that shit as a joke. So at some point, you will see American naval craft cruising, you know, through the Pacific towards Australia. And that one ends the same way the Canadian one ends. I mean, the Australians put up a brave fight. They do their best, but what are you going to do when you're outnumbered 100-1 and your opponent has better firearms and weapons than you can even dream of having, you know? Like when America invades Australia, Australia's got a few like tanks from England, and that's it. And America's dropping, you know, divisions of armor on their ass. You know, it's just like, so eventually, even if you're playing the Germans, you end up part of the American Empire. So that's a weird, what would I call it? Hell, maybe that's a weird look into an alternate history where America decided not to be as nice as we always have and decided, F it, you know? The rest of the world's getting ready to catch this smoke. I was watching a British guy earlier, and he's doing a video. This guy was a British Royal Marine, and he was doing a video, and the video was, could America take on and win against the whole rest of the world? And at the end of all of the stats and everything, his final conclusion was absolutely. Absolutely 100%. And, you know, and he was saying the reason is because the rest of the world doesn't understand how big our military is. You know, like we have more aircraft carriers than the whole rest of the world combined by multiples, you know, like the poor English, man, they got like one and it's old. Now I heard they're getting a new one and that's awesome for them. The French, I think, got one. I'm not even going to count China as having one. They've got that piece of shit they bought off of Russia that was built shortly after World War II. That thing does not work. It's just a proven fact. It doesn't work. It's a piece of shit. It's like whatever, right? So, who else in the world has an aircraft carrier? I think the answer to that is no one. And then you ask, well, who's got Death Doritos? Anybody out there got Death Doritos? And again, crickets, crickets, crickets. Now think about this too, and I'm not trying to be a nationalist knee slapper here, right? But one thing the recent mission in Iran showed the entire world is the United States can hit you anywhere in the world and you can't do a damn thing about it. You won't even see it coming. Your country, and this is every other country in the world, lacks the technology to even see our shit coming. So, and remember those B2s and those B whatevers, they can carry nukes. You know what I'm saying? So any country that, you know, if it gets bad, I mean, Moscow, which I would hate because think of all the culture that would be lost, St. Basil's Cathedral and everything. But the United States has shown that we could easily take Moscow right off the face of the earth. And while, of course, the Russians would respond, it wouldn't change the fact, you know? And if we know where most of their ground located missile launching facilities are, we could probably take those out before they even got to launch. So, yeah, but even as a shadow of its former self, it's still, or no, you're British historical doppelganger, am I right? And if you are British, yes, your Navy is a shadow of its former self. And as an American, I think that's a damn shame. Because who doesn't love the song Rule Britannia? I mean, you know, even Americans like that song. There's just something like badass about Rule Britannia, Britannia rules the waves. Do. There's a certain feeling of rightness with Britain having a very powerful navy. But now it's a joke. And I don't know why. And I'm not going to get into the politics of the whys and wherefores. But yeah, it's sad. It's sad. I want to see Britain rolling out with like 6 carriers and badass freaking cruisers. And, you know, I want to see them as good as us, or maybe slightly less as good as us, but ready to be there when we need them. That's what I would love to see. You know, a strong, powerful Britain that could project power around the world and let people know, hey, come to F down, you know? But now the U.S. Navy, I don't know if we're a shadow of ourselves. I mean, to quote habitual line craft crosser, we just be building shit all the time. You know, it's like we just put another super carrier into the water a couple of years ago, right? And now the new talk is the next generation of carriers will be smaller than the current generation of super carriers But because of technology and everything, they'll be just as good, you know. So sweet, you know, sweet. And I think they're thinking about getting rid of or upgrading the Los Angeles class. Uh, which means we'll be building a new attack submarine. It'll have to have great capabilities like the Seawolf, but be cheap. British pre-World War One, there was a yeah. I don't know what happened, bro. I don't know what happened, but everything I said about Rule Britannia and all that, I meant it. I think most Americans are like me, and when we look at Britain, it's kind of like looking at your granddad. You know what I mean? Like your great grandpa. Even though I haven't a bit of English blood in me, just as an American, you know, it's like Britain. You know, they're kind of our papa. You know, I mean, we got in a little scrap with them. We had to scrap it out a little bit, but hey, we're still homies, right? I mean, I know the British know that if anybody tried to F with them, the US would be right there. And Britain has always had our back. So, you know, and I don't know if we talked about yesterday, but seeing the president having dinner or whatever with the king, we needed some positive stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because this week has been weird enough. So yeah, we needed some positivity. You know, Melania and William's wife handing out awards to Boy Scouts. I mean, you know, that's the kind of shit we like to see. Now, Keir Starmer's still an idiot, but at least, you know, Charles is, you know, remembering his noblesse oblige or whatever they call it. Even though I'll be honest with you, and I hope not to insult any British people, I think William will end up being a much better king than Charles. And I don't want it to happen soon, you know, because Charles has been like an aspect of my life since I've been alive. But I'm just saying, when William becomes King of England, I think he's going to do a great job. Or at least I guess I hope he will. I hope he will, you know? I mean, William always seemed like he had a good head on his shoulders. And I know they don't have a lot of like actual real on paper power, but anyone who thinks the English nobility has no power doesn't understand how power works. You know what I mean? Yeah, 240 ships. That's a lot. I think if you multiplied that by about 10, that's what you'd have in the US Navy now. I mean, it's nuts. Like, you know, our carrier groups, when they travel around, there's like, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 ships and submarines and every other damn thing all over the area, you know. Whereas for Russia, I mean, they want to be a world power, but the rule is very simple. If you don't have a navy, you don't get to be a world power. That is what it is. Now, I'm getting ready to put some white primer on this Baneblade with a brush. It is Vallejo primer. And if any of you guys are like, why is this guy primering his freaking epic miniatures with a brush and not a rattle can? Because I have a lot more control with the brush. Like once I start putting the stuff on, if I feel like it's a little too thick in any particular area, I can move it around with the brush. With a rattle can, if a bout of humidity and heat kicks and your miniature turns furry because the paint freaking, half dried before it even hit your miniature, you're screwed. Your only hope is to drop that miniature into some freaking LA Clean or something like that, and strip it out and try again, because it will never look good. All of the, and I'm speaking from experience here, guys, but of course not with Epic, with actual normal 40K scale. But if you're talking Epic, then you have to be extra careful, extra careful, even than you would with your normal Space Marines, because while the infantry are pretty easy to paint overall, not easy. What's up, William? How you doing, bro? Not easy, but pretty easy overall. The tanks, some of these tanks have almost as many damn parts for them as the actual 32 millimeter ones do. Now that is a extreme over exaggeration, but you'll forgive me because that's kind of my thing. However, I will say this: your Malcador tank has more than 10 parts to build a tank that long. Like you're literally gluing the exhaust pipes onto this thing, which is kind of like, really, dude? Which I haven't glued the gas, or no, I haven't glued the gas tanks on mine since the first couple, because they're not really necessary. They don't do anything. They do look kind of good, so I saved them in case I changed my mind. But and since these guys mostly get painted with Vallejo Express paints, and then highlights in whatever game color matches the Express paint, they're not super hard to paint. I mean, it's a military vehicle. I'm for my, now, if anybody, I know there's only a few of you watching, but if any of you guys got like a really good suggestion for the color I should paint the Imperial Guardsmen, I'm all ears, man. Right now, and I have to watch myself because of my ingrained bias, I'm thinking I'll paint them, desert color. And they probably look pretty good in Iraqi sand with a little bit of, wash on them. I'm into Legions Imperialis. They look way better. See, the first Games Workshop game I ever played was Space Marine. And that's the original one that came in the box with the freaking, it had like a couple of Titans. I think they were Warlord Titans. And it had like a blue army and a red army, and they were identical, and they were Space Marines. And it was supposed to actually represent the Horus Heresy. Except this is back before, the Black Library had literally lifted the veil on every single aspect of the Horus Heresy. And man, me and Hungar had a blast with that game. And we played the one where the figures weren't on strips, they were on squares. Yeah. And then later on, they started introducing the other armies like orcs. And you could buy a box of these things for like $19. Actually, like 20 because it was like $19.99 or something. You know, in America, everything that we put a price on, the merchants always add 99. They even did that with gasoline. If you pull in to get some gasoline, it'll say $2.94. And then there'll be a little thing that says 9/10. Now, personally, I think that should be against the law. I mean, if you're going to sell something, you should not be able to like hide the fact that it's 9/10 of a penny more expensive, which does add up if you're, you know, putting, say you got a big truck with a 50-gallon tank. I mean, that 9/10 adds up, right? I don't know why and how they get away with it, but they do get away with it. And most Americans, if you ask them about it, don't even know because they don't even look at it. So my Baneblade is coming right along. The other color I thought about painting my Imperial Guard here is Horus Sea Green. The Sons of Horus Sea Green color. Of course, if I did that, then that kind of, some people might think that that's just going to kind of lock them into, okay, these are filthy traitor Marines or traitor guard who all get what they deserve after the Siege of Terra because they all end up getting ate by the Chaos Marines who run out of food and decide, screw it, let's eat the humans. But yeah, this Baneblade, just one of these is like 100 points. However, some people play 3,000 point armies. I'm shooting for like 1,500, maybe. You know, and after I play a while at like that points level, if I feel like I want to go like bigger, you know, and all that would mean is, you know, add night houses and big ass Titans, then, you know, I can think about it. But honestly, the main thing I'm interested in is the epicness of moving, you know, platoons around on a table and you know, stuff like that. And what I did, Historical Doppelganger, is I bought 2 boxes of the starting thing. And then the things that I thought I would need to get the army. But see, I didn't run into it blind. There is a fellow countryman of yours online, and he had a YouTube video called What You Actually Need to Play, you know, this game, which he says is the best game Games Workshop makes now. And I don't know, but we'll see. So far, it looks cool. And he talked about, you know, how you get a lot of value out of the box set just because of the way Games Workshop does their starter sets is kind of loss leaders because they want you to get into the game so that you'll buy the $100 Titan, you know. And if they have to, you know, not really make a lot of profit selling, you know, the starter, then that's fine, right? That's fine. Because in the end, it's kind of like the whole thing with drug dealers, you know, the first bit's free, except in this still, it's not free, it's just cheaper. So I end up, any Games Workshop game I decide to invest in, I almost always end up buying a couple of, what's up, Ultra TP, tabletop role player? I always end up buying a couple of the sets. So every Warhammer 40K starter set that has been released since 3rd edition, I've bought 2 of minimum. And the one that had the Chaos guys and the freaking Dark Angels, I bought like 4 of those. And then when I got into 28 millimeter Horus Heresy, bought 2. What a thing that is too, because my wife, you know, she looks at my wish list. It's kind of like that, you know, where you see the guys like showing her about the vehicles I would need, you know, whatever. But epic too, guys. All of the spaces. Get the primer and so yeah, I always bought double. So like the Indominus box set that I recently sold for like $250, it's actually worth a lot more than that. But I bought 2. I opened one, I put it together. The other one I never even opened, and ended up selling. I probably, if I'd pushed, probably could have priced it at probably $100 more than it was going for, at least. That thing on eBay, I think, is going for like $3, but I'm not a merchant, and the main part of that is I wanted it gone. So the guy who drove here from Melbourne and handed me the 250 and took it off my hands, well, he was doing me a favor. You know what I mean? Because it's been hanging out since the Indominus box set came out. And yeah, I didn't want it. Didn't want it. I still have an unopened box of Age of Darkness, the Horus Heresy stuff. And I have used not a single Mark 6 Marine to build my Space Marine Legion. Every single Marine in my Space Marine Legion is Mark 3, Mark 4, Mark 5. And mostly Mark 3. So, Ultra TT, you're on. Hey, look at you. You're on Rumble, homie. You know, hopefully you can see the rest of the chat and everything, but hey, appreciate it. I mean, my Rumble channel doesn't have too many followers at all, but actually it was my homie, Holy Diver, who I respect very much when it comes to like certain things. I mean, I'm not saying I'd follow him into a house fire. That's my gig. But, you know, when it comes to a lot of stuff, that guy's dead on. And he is kind of the one that, listening to him, I decided, yeah, I'm preparing. I'm preparing for, because YouTube is turning into a big, hey, do you want to see what's on Fox News? Hey, do you want to see CNN? Hey, how about some more Fox News? It's like, dude. And people wonder why the algorithm's all effed up. There you go. Because they're getting paid, who knows, millions of dollars by mainstream and cable media to bump them up on the freaking algorithm. And then hobbyists, you know, we're already screwed because, you know, it's not like, I mean, literally we exist within a niche or a niche of a niche, depending. And they're never going to put you higher up on the algorithm than they will CNN or MSNBC or Fox or whatever. It's just never going to happen, you know? So when Holy Divers started talking all about going over to Rumble, I decided, well, the least I can do is start multi-streaming. And then if things go bad on YouTube, as a lot of people are saying they're going to, I will just stream on frickin' Rumble from now on to the 12 people who follow me, because I don't care anyway. I mean, I'm not even monetized here, so what I'm doing right now, guys, has never been about the money. And I'm not saying that to make people who monetize and make money feel bad. I'm not. I mean, I am a pro-market capitalist to the core. If you're the kind of guy that can get people to follow you and you can make that money, baby. That's what I'm saying. But I just don't want to be bothered with it. And plus, with my retirement and everything, I mean, every time I have to do my taxes, I would have to try to figure out how much money I made on YouTube and shit. And I mean, I feel like that would suck. You know, it would have to be a shit ton of money to make it worthwhile. And I don't have enough followers, viewers, whatever, to make a shit ton of money. I have enough to make like $20 here and there, which is just about enough to be annoying as hell, you know, on my taxes, which are already a pain in the ass, you know, because we gotta move money into our health savings account to keep the government from taxing us out the ass. Because if there's one thing my wife and I agree on, it's that we hate paying taxes if we don't have to. Hate it, hate it, hate it. And I'm not even opposed to like taxes. I mean, I understand taxes are sometimes necessary. I do. And I don't think this is political. I think this is an economic view. While I think that taxes are necessary for the running of a nation, I like Florida's way of collecting taxes. Florida has a relatively high sales tax, 7 or 8%, something like that, depending on where you are. But they don't have a state income tax at all. Now you look at Kentucky. Kentucky doesn't have quite as high of a sales tax, but they have a state income tax. And then you look at which one is incredibly wealthy and isn't number one in the nation for being fat and all that, and lung cancer from smoking, not from coal mining. I would definitely be like, hey, those guys dying from black lung, they sacrificed their lives so you could be warm in your house, right? But my point is, if you compare the two states I know the most about, it appears to me that Florida has the right of it. Don't charge what people make on their checks. Just raise sales tax so that every time anyone walks into a 7-Eleven and buys a Coke for $1.59, you know, they're going to chuck you, you know, what would that be, 12 cents? Don't seem like much until it happens millions of times. And then all of a sudden, you know, Florida's like, we're in the money. We're in the money. We're talking about getting rid of property tax. Another thing we have in America that's an absolute abomination, property tax. Because what it means is no matter how long you live in a house and no matter how long you pay for that house, you never owned that house. Because the second you stop paying property taxes on that house, if you miss 5 years, somebody will come and kick you out of your house, and that's it. That's so nuts, you know? And on top of the fact that it's next to impossible for anybody to get a house now anyway. You know what I mean? Right? I was shocked the other day, and again, I'm not being political. I'm not making this about who's in the government. This is monetary policy, right? I went online the other day just to look at how much houses were costing in Kentucky. Blew my mind. Blew my freaking mind. It was like 10 times more than 5 years ago. And I'm sitting here like, so you're trying to tell me a double wide trailer, not on property, just the double wide trailer, right? You'll have to pay for them to move it somewhere, right? And they're wanting like almost 200 grand. It's like, what? 30 years ago, my uncle traded a Harley Davidson for a brand new double wide trailer. And now all of a sudden it's, you know, and unfortunately, guys, Florida, for all of the awesomeness that is Florida, isn't much better. You know, like what you're going to pay for the house, the bang is not always worth the buck. You know what I'm saying? And that's a damn shame, man. Something's got to change. Because I mean, we definitely don't want to start trying to live in a country where no one can afford a home, you know? That's just stupid. Yeah, I'm telling you, at this point, I mean, you know, especially Daryl, if you have property like way out in the middle of Montana or somewhere, pull that solar powered bitch out in the middle of the woods somewhere and just vanish off the grid. You know, have a cell phone, but like buy it from like Walmart, so like a burner, and only turn it on when you actually desperately want to talk to somebody. Otherwise, keep that bitch turned off. And, you know, if you're really paranoid, you know, build a birdhouse and then put your phone in the birdhouse and then put the birdhouse like a couple 100 yards away from where your house actually is. You know, if any of this is sounding like a crazy person, I apologize. I'm actually not a crazy person. But I do believe that I'm not going to say it's a basic right, because, you know, it's not a basic right that you get to own a house. Sorry, it's not a basic right. None of that's a basic right. Your medical is not basic right, because it demands that somebody do a job basically at the barrel of the gun. And that's called slavery. And we already had a big war over that. Like, you know, between 500,000 and 800,000 people died. So let's not get into that. That's why I laugh when Canadians or other people are like, we got free healthcare. And it's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. That's why you're paying 50+% of your income tax, right? And you still got to wait a month to get something fixed. Unless you're Canadian, they'll just ask if you want to die. But anyway, I need to stop. I'm over here kvetching like freaking a Jewish grandma at the park complaining about the humidity, you know? I'm going to be like, oi, it's so humid. It's like a sauna in here. So let me talk about something positive that I found. I've heard it before, but I didn't know what it was. But I found it today. And now I know what it is. And knowing what it is makes it even more awesome than I thought it even could be. And it's called Peter and Bas, BAS. And it's these two like 70-plus-year-old British guys rapping. And it is amazing. Amazing. Just, I mean, if you don't like rap, then don't watch it. You know, that's just what it is. If you automatically just hate rap, okay, save yourself some time. Don't watch it. But if you do kind of like rap, especially that British style, what they call it, drill rap, give it a watch. You might like it. It's funny. You got these two geriatric old men, you know, freaking British dudes, and they are just dropping. It's like every line is a bar. You know what I mean? Everything they say is like, oh my God, so good. Now, I don't know if they're writing it or someone else is writing it for them. I've heard some rumors that they actually used to be gangsters back in the day in England, like Peaky Blinders or some shit. I don't know any of this to be true. But I will tell you this. Their song Whirly Bird is pretty badass. I mean, like, you know, it's always so weird when you encounter like white British gangsters. There's just something about it, you know. It's like, you know, and I know they have them. I've seen the movies. But for an American, it's like, look at these polite guys with their little suits and ties and stuff trying to be G's. What's up? And then one of them pulls out like a sawed-off shotgun and blows your kneecap off or something. And then all of a sudden it's like, hold on, Grandpa. Hold on. Let's talk about it. Something's happening here. And I've changed my mind about wanting to be a smartass. But anyway, so yeah, Peter and Bas. It's literally, it is just, I can't even explain it. You know what I mean? Historical Doppelganger, they're from your country. So, I mean, if you've heard of them, you know what I'm talking about. But they're starting to hit pretty big here with all of the video reviewer type dudes. And so far, like Mr. Lloyd and all those dudes are loving them. Like absolutely loving them. You know what I mean? So yeah. Yeah, a lot of the brothers in America that like to do reviews of rap music are totally getting down with those two old guys. So it's heartwarming, you know? There's so much like division and bullshit going on in the world. It's kind of heartwarming to see, you know, different people enjoying, you know, a thing together without worrying about, you know, particulars. You know what I mean? But then again, some people say I'm an optimist and that I always try to see the best in people. Some people say that. And I would say to them, well, it took about 50 years to get there. Because all the 50 years prior to that, I was a rage-fueled maniac. Hyper aggressive, hyper competitive. I could not handle losing at anything. And in a lot of ways, that ended up doing me well. Because, you know, when I went into the Army, you know, when I went into different training, you know, being hyper competitive and being all about winning at all times, yeah, it helped me out. But in a lot of ways, it didn't help me out because it made me the guy that people really didn't want to hang out with. Because, you know, who wants to hang out with a guy who might snap if you beat him at a game of volleyball? Nobody. Oh yeah, man. All of the guys that have channels like Mr. Lloyd and LFA Army, and mostly these are black dudes because I love watching black dudes like react to white music or white musicians, and they are freaking loving it. You know, like on one of Mr. Lloyd's things, he actually had a professional rapper who had rapped with I forget who he said for like 20 years. And that dude was like, these guys are freaking straight bars nonstop. You know, it's like, what's weird though is there's a verse in Whirlybird where Boz says that something, I'll nick your wallet. And they bleep out Nick because I think they thought it sounded too much like another word that starts with the N letter, you know? And I was just laughing. I'm like, really? Really? The YouTube algorithm doesn't understand that Nick is like British for still? You know, I'm going to nick your wallet, nick your girlfriend, nick your whatever we're nicking today. Yeah, YouTube apparently does not understand that Nick is not a racial slur at all. It is, in fact, just a word meaning that you're getting ready to get robbed. So, you know, okay, fine. All right, I'm putting my Imperial Guard armor in a little box out of the way here real quick. I'll show it to you, though. I think my favorite verse from them is the T-Pain song, I think. Or they mention T-Pain anyway. And he goes off like the bigger the back, the bigger the butt crack or some shit like that. And it's just like, that's true. I mean, no lies detected. Homeboy is 100% right. The bigger the back, the bigger the butt crack. That song they put on a, some English guys put that song on a AI video and released it directly after the election, basically. And it had like Kamala Harris driving around, getting pissed drunk, and Hillary Clinton running around England like killing people, and Kim Jong-un robbing an Indian supermarket, and Vladimir Putin burning down a house. But they were all in England and dressed up like, you know, Peaky Blinders or some shit. Trump was riding around in a big limo, smoking weed, wearing an Adidas tracksuit. I was like, damn, man, he's from Scotland. He's not from Slavia. You know, no. Well, then again, though, he does like the Slavs, since both of his wives were Slavs. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, maybe some of that ran off on him. You know what I'm saying? Maybe being around Ivanka and now Melania rubbed off on him, and he's feeling that Slavness. So he had to throw on his Adidas tracksuit and cruise around. It was funny, too, because they have Boris Johnson in it. And like these people are trying to get into England, but England's like a nightclub. And they're all like, can we come in? And they all have like their dresses are the colors of the countries they're from. So like Romania or wherever. And Boris Johnson's like, nope. The hero of Canton, the man they go. Yeah, you see that behind me, huh, George? That's right. Of course, my mom did not make it for me. It was not the only present I ever got, but it is cool. And that episode was cool. So right here is what I have finished so far for Space Marines. And you can see I've already started painting some of them. So what I've got here is 10 rhinos. So I might be doing a very transport heavy thing here. I don't know. And 6 predators. Various loadouts. Like 3 have twin link lasers and 3 have just the predator autocannons. And they all got like heavy bolter sponsons. So that's my Blood Angels start. And then here we've got our Imperial Guard. And what we have here is a Baneblade, 4 Leman Russ tanks, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 Malcadors. And I don't know if you ever read the rule book, but in the rule book, if you buy a unit of Malcadors, which is 2, you can add more Malcadors to it. It just gets crazy expensive after a while. So, you know, you got to really, do you want to put half of your army's points cost into having this big unit of 8 heavy tanks roaming around? Me? Maybe. I don't know. Haven't played the game yet. It's crazy too, because I mean, I always play Blood Angels, but the other army I always play in 40K is Imperial Guard. So, you know, 30K Imperial Guard is a little bit attractive to me too, you know? So that box set worked out great for me, because I got my beloved Space Marines I can paint red and send on their way. And I've got my beloved Imperial Guardsmen with all of their tanks and transports and, you know, whatever. The one thing I wish, and I started talking about this earlier and then I got distracted by something. In the 40K box set, Age of Darkness, all the Marines they give you that aren't Terminators are wearing Mark 6 armor. I hate that. And in this game, all of the Adeptus Sorbites, the Space Marines, are wearing Mark 6 armor, Beaky armor, right? I hate that. And Games Workshop, I think they made a huge mistake in that they could have easily put out a box set of just like Mark 3 Space Marine armors, but epic scale. I mean, I'd have bought a couple right off the bat, you know, some Mark 3, Mark 4s. Hell, General Malcador. Yeah, he was the hero that led the crusade into, I don't remember what section of the empire it was, but yeah, Malcador was one of the big heroes that led a crusade and liberated a bunch of planets, etc. Oh wait, am I getting confused with Macarius and Malcador the Sigillite? Because I think I'm getting confused. I think the one I'm thinking of that led the big crusade and, you know, crushed everything in that one sectum might have been Macarius. And I think Malkador might have been the emperor's best friend, the Sigillite. And if I am being whatever, I have a secret to tell you all. This secret is so good. You have to read so many different books and have discernment powers such as my own. But if you do, you will know the secret too. And if you don't, well, I'm here to tell you the secret, because I'm your bro. We're friends. So because you're my friends, I'll tell you the secret. Okay, so Malkador was Christian. He was the last priest. They talk about, and then after he talked to the emperor, he burnt the last church down. But he didn't stop being Christian. He just started believing, even though he kept it to himself, that the emperor might be the second coming. You know what I'm saying? And there was another guy who, I think his name was Grammaticus. The emperor knew for a fact that the other guy, it might not have been John Grammaticus, it might have been someone else, was a devout and practicing Roman Catholic and never did a thing about it. And the guy in question, he never rose to power or anything, even though he was a, you know, one of those people who can't die. He just fought for the Imperial Guard for basically ever. I mean, if I don't know about the lore, he might have got killed by the, you know, the Anathame. I don't know if he did or not. If he didn't, then somewhere on some planet, there's an Imperial Guard unit that's got a guy in it that's literally like 30,000+ years old, saying his rosary every morning and fighting for the emperor still. But yeah. Now, 40K recently, in addition to being just idiots, they've tried to distance, or Games Workshop has tried their best to distance 40K, well, the whole thing, Warhammer, from Christian mythology. And I mean, I call it mythology, but even if I believe it, you may not, whatever. Christian stories and stuff, they have tried their best to distance. It's not working. Like that story they come up with about all the shamans putting their perpetual, exactly, putting their power together to create the emperor. That's relatively new lore, even though it was out in like, I don't know, 2nd or 3rd edition or something. Before that, they just talked about the emperor, you know, just always was. And when he walks amongst humans, even though he's gigantic, humans don't see it because of his psychic ability. They just see another human, you know. Hell, in one of the books, the emperor implies incredibly strongly that he was Alexander the Great. And he says that he has been great men throughout history that have, you know, had huge effects on humanity. Now, that's not him coming right out and being like, oh, and by the way, I got nailed to a crucifix. But it's not him saying it wasn't either. You see what I mean? Now, is it blasphemy? Yeah, pretty much, sort of. Is it a game? So I'm not going to worry too much about it because it's not something that affects my faith. Yeah, just a game. Doesn't really affect my faith at all. So, you know, if the emperor's supposed to be, you know, some kind of second coming or something, okay, I'm okay with that. Whatever, you know, it doesn't. Right now, I'm priming these stalkers or whatever they're called. I will be honest. I've said it before. The 30K version is way cooler than the 40K version. Yeah, the perpetual. I forget his name. It might actually be something Aurelius or something like that. But he had been a Roman citizen, and then when the emperor rose to power, he joined the imperial guard, and then the emperor met him, and they talked, and he still had a crucifix and his rosary and the whole 9 yards. And the emperor was like, "You're my boy," and just left him alone, you know? So, yeah, that is a problem because Games Workshop has been infested, not recently, over the last 10, 15 years, let's say, with people who absolutely hate any sort of morality or especially if the morality is derived from, like, you know, ancient tales, you know. They've started doing stupid shit to try and retcon the obvious borrowing of old Hebrew stories from their game. I mean, the entire Horus Heresy is an ancient Hebrew story. I have got rid of most of my premieres because I decided I hate them, which is sad because I had a lot of them, obviously, from all the box sets I bought. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I despise them. And they never should have existed. And if Games Workshop wanted to find a way to make, you know, more true scale Space Marines, they should just release true scale Mark 9s, Mark 10s, and call it a day. And then the players could choose whether they want to pay the money for the slightly larger Marines or not. But this whole Gilliman had a plan to go behind the Emperor's back with frickin' Belisarius to create a whole new type of Space Marine. Unless the Emperor told him to do that, and I don't know if he did. I haven't seen the lore. Maybe he did. That is heresy of the worst type. That is crazy, because that's Gilliman and Belisarius Cull saying that they know more about shit than the Emperor. Kind of like how they slid that woman in there for the Space Marine creation story. You know, the mother of the Space Marines that ends up getting killed on Luna. Like, that bitch was never in the story for like 20 years. But they had to sneak her in. But then again, John Grammaticus, I think, kills her. So who cares, right? Yeah, I do love the original Dawn of War series. I have it on my computer, and every now and then I load that shit up and play it. And so does Hungar. I don't think they ever beat the first one. And I'm not trying to be a grumpy old grognard here. It's just like the first Dawn of War was so good. And it was just all downhill from there. Like, here's something I don't understand. I think it's Dawn of War 2. When you build a unit of tactical Marines, why do you get 6? And then when you go to add more to them, why does it stop? Or no, you get 3 and it stops at like 6. That really bothers me, right? Well, how you doing, Dean Powell? What's up, homie? And the reason it really bothers me is because in Dawn of War 1, you got a half squad of 5 men. And if you had the points, you could immediately upgrade it to 10 men, upgrade one to a sergeant, maybe attach a freaking medic or chaplain to it, you know, equip them with like special weapons. I mean, basically, it was almost like the board game as far as, you know, all the stuff you could do, you know. And it was same with the orcs with their boys mobs with like 20 orcs in it, and you know, all that. And then yeah, Dawn of War 2 comes out, and all of a sudden every unit is smaller than it should be. Dean, the other people in chat are mostly just listening to me rant and occasionally adding opinions. And I am primering by hand some epic Imperial Guardsmen. I've got the ogres primered, and I'm getting ready to do the last of the stalkers or whatever they're called, the big walkie vehicles. And I've got all the tanks ready to go. And then after I finish primering this, because you got to let the Vallejo primer, you got to let it dry for a very long time, right? I will probably take the vehicles I'd primed yesterday and throw the first coat of contrast paint on them. I mean, it's contrast paint, but mine's made by Vallejo, so it's called Express Color. But it's contrast paint, you know. Now, if I had a negative thing to say about the Horus Heresy, it is this. I cannot make a unit of my beloved Lamenters. That is a 40K thing only. And about 20 years ago, I made like a squad, minimum one squad of every Space Marine unit that was involved in the Badab War. So I had Mantis Warriors. I had the Blizzard Warriors, or whatever they were called. I had the Tiger Claws, which become the Astral Claws, which become the Red Corsairs. I had Lamenters and Minotaurs and like all of it. Yeah, I don't remember which one switched up how the squads work. So it might have been 3. But yeah, that's such a like weird thing to change. I guess what were they trying to save a little bit of I don't know, frame rate or something with that? I don't know. Got your USA flag? I got so many USA flags, it's hard to even imagine. Well, actually, I lie. I've got a couple of USA flags, and I've got a couple of CSA flags, and I've got one Kentucky-specific CSA flag for the Orphan Brigade. It's the big blue one with the red cross and the stars in it. Why? For the same reason that somewhere around here I have a Lieutenant's Kepi from an infantry unit, probably Orphan Brigade, because I like history and I collect stupid shit like that. And if somebody gets offended at the fact that, you know, I have the national flag of the Confederacy or something, they can kiss my ass. I don't care. I do not care anymore. Right? My family, for the most part, not all, but for the most part, fought for the South, fought for Kentucky, and I'm not going to apologize for it. However, I am super anti-slavery. What's up, my love?
This is definitely looking clear.
Thank you. You've been so nice to me today. I just don't even know what to do with myself.
There's no meat left for dinner. The meat did not thaw in the fridge as I had hoped. We're having pork roast.
You know, anything you cook, I'm going to love.
Well, you got squash casserole. What do you want?
I can't tell you because I'm live streaming. And I treat my woman with respect in front of other people. But if I were you, I'd be careful about asking me what I want.
I meant for dinner. You know that.
I know what you meant, and you know what I meant. Anyway, sorry guys. We have been together over 20 years, and I am still always trying to flirt with her and act like we just met in a bar and I'm trying to pick her up and stuff. Generally not in front of people too much, but I guess it means we must be in love or something because I don't leave her alone. I'm constantly chasing her around, harassing her. Now there was a good Space Marine game. I think I still own it, where like you landed on a planet and you were fighting like Tyranids, and like as you did certain things, you unlocked different types of troops, and and you were actually controlling like companies. You can move like some dudes here and some dudes there and have a predator, and that one was a good game, but it wasn't called Dawn of War. I forget what it was called. And like, you might have to send your Space Marine captain in to fight with a freaking Tyranid warrior, which was cool because if your command squad could kill the Tyranid warrior, it could break the synapses, and then all of the lesser bugs would start acting like, special needs bugs. But how dare I treat my wife like my wife? Exactly. Tell you what, when I'm laying in bed at night too, I need to stop watching all this AI shit about human soldiers getting green women pregnant. That is a weird, it's like, it's all AI. And there's like 20 channels, and every single story has like the same names of certain people. Like the people change, but the names never do. So like there'll always be someone whose last name is Chen, but that doesn't know, you don't know what her job is in each particular thing. And in every story, it's basically loner human ex special forces guy meets blue skinned, white haired, hot ass alien in some really, really like horrible way where they could die, but then they don't die. And then over time, she realizes she loves him, and then they get pregnant, which is really weird because apparently the aliens don't know that they can get pregnant by humans. And then, sometimes there's the diplomatic crises, and other times they celebrate it, And in almost all of them, humans are called Death Worlders because apparently we're the only species to develop intelligence on a planet with the gravity of our planet. So anytime we leave Earth, we're basically like 3 times stronger than anyone we encounter. And so the aliens are always like, you don't want to mess with those humans, man. I saw one rip a death claw apart limb from limb with his bare hands and shit like that. And the human in question's always like an ex-colonial Marine, or he was in the special forces for human defense or whatever. And his only goal right now is to just basically be left alone. Because, all the shit he saw in the war kind of, put him in that mood where he's just trying to do his thing. And that's when the alien shows up. Or sometimes it's not an alien. Sometimes it's a starving alien child. And then he lets the alien child into his cabin or whatever and feeds it. And then like it runs off, and later it returns with its mom. And then the mom's like, you saved my child's life. In my culture, that means you must become my mate or some shit. And And you know what? It's like a soap opera. And I'm like a bored housewife laying in bed watching human soldiers knocking up various colored aliens, because they're not all purple or blue or whatever. Sometimes they're red, sometimes they're green. But the one thing that you can count on is they're like super hot. And apparently their sexual organs are compatible with humans. Grabbing a shower. I need to do that later. The last shower I took, you know, with my wife so that, you know, she could scrub my back and stuff. But usually I shower alone because I shower in ice cold water. And she is not a fan. But I actually hate it, but then I love it. You know what I mean? It's like when you first get in, you hate it. But then after you get cleaned up and everything and you get out, you love it. Because, like, I don't know, showering in ice cold water just makes your body feel like, I don't know, weird, you know, tingly and freaking, from what I understand, has something to do with like endorphins and whatever, but it also has to do with discipline, you know, as in, do you have the discipline to force yourself to take a freezing cold shower? And, you know, some people do, some people don't. Or maybe some people do have the discipline to do it. They just think it's crazy as shit. And they're like, why in the hell would I pay a heating bill and then take a cold ass shower? What's the point of that? You know? And you know what? I totally get it. I totally get that. It is. It is. I remember when there was originally the Humanity F Yeah genre, and it was just like one guy. And now there's, I swear to God, there's like, I don't even know how many of these channels, and they're all cranking out basically the human F yeah kind of stories, you know? And some of them are human F yeah, like some evil aliens attack some helpless aliens, and you know, so the helpless aliens call on humanity because no one else will help them, and then the humans show up and they're like a, you know, basically our military is like an avalanche of death and destruction, and then like it turns out the bad guy aliens, who a lot of times are reptilian or insectoid, killed some children. So of course, since some children were killed, the humans decide that there will be no mercy. Ralts. I don't even know what a Ralt is. But you are right. Starting the day trying to, you know, rub soap all over yourself in freezing cold water. Yeah, the rest of the day is definitely better, you know. Is Ralts that thing where people like dunk themselves in 45-degree water for like a minute every day? Because I've seen that, and I've seen people trying to sell the tanks, but I've never been like, oh yeah, I definitely need that. Ralts Bloodthorn, author of Behold Humanity. Okay, okay. So I'm totally out in left field somewhere. You guys, I mean, George, the last book I read that wasn't game related was probably in high school. No, that's a lie. It's when I was going through academy, but you get what I'm saying. So he talks about, you know, taking cold showers and making yourself like stoic or something. Not that I'm necessarily a super stoic guy. I mean, my wife cooks me delicious meals and stuff like that. He's a Gulf War veteran. Okay. Okay. So he's a Gen Xer. Most Gen Xers are pretty awesome. You know, he writes adventure modules. Wow. I wish he would write some adventure modules for like Star Frontiers. Maybe I should send him something on Facebook or something. Be like, hey bro, how about some Star Frontiers, bro? Let's do this. Come on. Because I don't know if anybody even owns Star Frontiers at this point. So it might be okay to just write adventures for it. You know, the first Humanity F Yeah book I ever read was written in the 60s. And when the aliens landed, the human freaked out. He was fishing and hit one of the aliens with his fishing rod, and it killed him, killed the alien. And the aliens were like freaking out, and they started talking to him. And then he realized they didn't mean, and then like the aliens all decided humanity cannot have jump drive. But they can be mercenaries. So then, like, it might have even been called Star Soldier or some shit. Basically, if you want to make some quick cash as a human, you joined a mercenary unit and you went out into the universe and kicked the shit out of everything. You know, for various alien superpowers that while they wanted human soldiers, they were terrified of human soldiers because, you know, we like most of the weapons they had originally developed couldn't even hurt a human because of how dense we were. And like we could literally, if you walked up to an alien and flipped them in the forehead, they'd probably die, you know? So it was, I've heard some people call it humans are the space orcs genre too. But that's an old book, man. That is an old book. I read that in like 3rd grade. And the humans were, you know, these ultra powerful bastards. But in the end of the series, the humans do get FTL travel and shit like that. And the rest of the aliens are like, well, there goes the neighborhood, you know? But we don't go to war with the aliens or anything. We just start colonizing our own worlds and doing our own shit, you know? So it ends happily. And in a lot of these AI stories I'm hearing, they keep calling humans death worlders. And they're like, because apparently every other intelligent alien civilization evolved on like basically a paradise planet with half the gravity and no apex predators. But humanity evolved on Earth full of apex predators. And yet somehow we evolved intelligence and these aliens can't figure out. I could understand a guy, especially a Gen Xer who isn't completely captured, being a little pissed off with the state of the gaming industry. I could get that. Like I wrote a game, I put it out, and then I never messed with it again. And mainly because, one, it was very amateurish anyway. And two, I just didn't want to deal with anyone in the game industry. I was just like, yeah, okay, so whatever. Biggest Geek has had it for free for the longest time. Because that's why I charged for it, free. You know me, man. Always money grubbing. So, yeah. But I've told you about how my game worked anyway, right? Like, basically, if you're trying to do something versus an inanimate object, you roll die 20 versus a target number, and it had the list of easy, whatever. But if you're trying to do something versus a animate object, say an orc or some, whatever, you would roll a contested roll and add your applicable skill. And so would your opponent, and whoever won did whatever it was they were trying to do. And that was the whole game. That was basically the rules. I ran that game for over a year with my family and friends. And I got kind of the highest praise ever. And that was when my daughter decided she was never going to play role-playing games anymore. She added the addendum of unless you run the one you wrote, because she really liked that game. It was a skill-based game too. So you didn't have a class so much as kind of, well, you had a background, and your background determined your attribute bonuses and starting skills. And then your class determined another attribute bonus and some more starting skills. And, but otherwise, yeah, that was basically it. So if you wanted to make a character that was a magician, but really good with a sword, you could 100% do that, you know. Maybe off grid, maybe. I mean, my only response to that would be to say God is good all the time. But they're interesting, you know. It's always, like I said, it's some veteran from some war trying to mind his own business on some stupid planet. And then a bunch of wacky bullshit happens. And the next thing he knows, he's the father of a half alien baby. And then, you know, more wackiness ensues. And then it ends. And I'm like, all right, that's kind of cool to go to sleep to, because it's like, you know, they're kind of happy stories. You don't really hear a lot about. Now, my wife, she loves Lighthouse Horror, and she likes to put that on. And it does not bother me a bit, because scary movies don't bother me. So, you know, she'll put it on. But what I started making her do is anytime she'd want to put Lighthouse Horror on, I would make her look up Lighthouse Horror Tales in Appalachia. And then she'd sit there watching it as the guy telling the horror story would be talking about, you know, the summer he got a job in Appalachia or something like that. And you know, blam, all hell broke loose, you know. Dogmen tried to eat him. Bigfoot tried to eat him. Cave goblins tried to eat. It's always something from somewhere trying to eat him. You know, cannibals tried to eat him. Cultists tried to capture him and possibly eat him, or force him to be breeding stock, one of the two. So in that regard, kind of like the Nicolas Cage movie Mandy. Well, I was getting ready to lie and say I don't want to force religion on anybody, because I do talk about religion an awful lot here. And I know some people don't care for it. And I kind of want to say to those people, I'm sorry. I don't mean to make you feel any sort of way. But I mean, at the same time, I can't act like I'm embarrassed of my faith. You know what I mean? And I can't pretend to, you know, not love God to make someone who doesn't believe in God feel better. You know, it's like, So all I can do is ask of all of you that you be patient with me, if it's within your capability. Be patient. I mean, yes, I'm a Christian. I understand that some people don't like being preached at, and I really do try very hard not to be overly preachy. But I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I believe what I believe. Check this out. This is a 15 millimeter scale, 3D printed, painted up like U.S. Army colors, MRAP. Because there was a time when I thought, maybe I'll run Twilight 2000 for the group. So, here's my Bradley M2 A1. So because I love miniatures, I printed out a shit ton of 15 mil vehicles and infantrymen and all kinds of some of them just have balaclavas on. Okay, thank you. But then never happened. And then this guy right here, this one I might actually get to use because there are some people who are a lot more interested. This is an ATV, and if you ever saw the cover of Mission to, starts with an A, Akazar or something like that, you'll see that they have, this style of ATV, which actually the back part's a living area. And they can be equipped in the front with a gun. That I guess the navigator could open the thing up if the atmosphere is cool and have a laser or missile launcher or something there. That will probably at some point get used because, again, it's for Star Frontiers. And I have a number of players in my group who are fans of Star Frontiers. So, if we run out of interest in the Marvel game, and I was like, all right, we're going to go back to Star Frontiers, which we've played before. They have characters. Like my one bro is a roboticist, and my wife's character is like a medic or something. Then we'll be set. And I know Hungar will be happy. I don't know if he's listening, but I know he'll be happy because he'll finally be able to play the Dralicites he loves so much. Because, of course, the guy who almost always universally plays a dwarf in Star Frontiers plays a Dralicite. Right? And one of the gamers at my table, she said she wants to play a Vrusk and do her primary skill PSA in science, which I thought, well, that's okay. And I explained to her, I was like, Vrusks are like, 10-limbed sort of praying mantis type things, right? And she's like, I don't care. And then her boyfriend who games with us, he's like, I want to be the Yazirian. And I was like, all right. And he chose military PSA. And he chose like rocket weapons and martial arts. So pretty stereotypical, I would say, right? Yeah, that is cool, George. But I mean, the Yazarian that's, training to shoot gyrojet weapons. The Vrusk that wants to be an engineer. The Dralicite that's a technician and, just wants to fix things. So he's always carrying around a tool bag. I mean, it is such a stereotype of an adventuring group that it's kind of cool, even, you know, like it's one of those things where this is so stereotypical that it's kind of awesome. And I think we'll have a lot of fun. And I might send them to Alcazar. I mean, the good news is you can get all of the let me go check the door real quick. I'll be right back. He seems pretty mad. Oh, it's Rob. Yeah.
You're live streaming.
I am, but we can talk about what board game or whatever we're going to play here in a minute. And the wife cooked up some delicious squash casserole.
Yes.
So, approved. Yeah, right.
I'm gonna go to Circle K real quick.
Okay.
Before we start. I just did pork roast because Jackson and Jason aren't coming. And we have squash casserole, which I made. I can do those.
So.
Eat it and have the apple cake. But yeah, they.
So we'll have a lot of fun with that. I mean, Dean, if you want in and you can't find the link, just say something, homie. You know I love having you on the channel. Like, for real.
Sir. Sir.
I forget sometimes, and we have had a lot of chat go by, so. Yeah. If you were thinking I was trying to solo this, the answer is no. I was not trying to solo this. I just wasn't paying attention, and the chat has been scrolling by. So you probably can't even go far enough back to find the invites. Now, you're not obligated. You're not obligated, but I will throw that up there. And, oh, I better click on your name before, you know. What is up, homie?
Hey, and yeah, like I said earlier, I'm mostly just awake because I have too much energy and punching a punching bag does not work. So right now I'm making a campaign map.
Too much energy? What are you doing? Smoking meth or something?
So what?
I said you got too much energy. What are you doing? Smoking meth?
Oh no, a friend challenged me to a burger eating contest, like a very big burger, just a singular one. I did get through it, but I'm very full and I'm very calorie enriched.
See, I'm the exact opposite. If I ate a big burger, I'd be going to sleep. Like, anytime I have a big meal, I'm all like,
yeah, I did go through that, but then the energy spurt came afterwards.
Did you start sweating?
No, I haven't sweated yet.
Yeah.
I may also be cheating because I do get treated with insulin, so who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't need insulin or anything. It turns out that losing weight and exercise cleaned all my shit up.
Yeah.
But I was never diabetic. I was what they call in America pre-diabetic, which is a nice way of the doctor saying straighten the hell up or you will be diabetic.
Yeah.
Speaking of diabetes, there's this really cool meme online, like on YouTube. This guy walks up to this heavy chick, like somewhere in America, right? He's like, hey, what's your type? And she's like, well, he's got to be, she starts going on and he says, no, I mean diabetes. What's your type?
That's pretty evil, but funny.
Yeah, right. because she's going on about whatever, and he's like, no, diabetes. What type of diabetes do you got? Because she was, They have another one you can see on Facebook because I don't think YouTube would allow it on. It's like an AI Southern family from like Alabama or something. And like the daughter apparently is like the town bike.
Oh,
And
no.
the grandma is just always effing with her, you
Yeah.
know?
And yes, I do know what a town bike is. I had a friend who often used that phrase to describe not his friend's circle, but his friend's friend's circle.
Yeah. Well, the grandma calls her the town bike,
Ah,
you know?
then she
And,
probably earned it.
Yeah. And, the grandma makes fun of her for having STDs and like in every frame, there's like a Confederate battle banner somewhere hanging off of something. There's one where her baby's talking and the baby's like, Mama calls me her little blessing, but I hear her crying every night in the bathroom.
Oh,
So it's like, wow. She don't even, But I'll tell you what, Facebook has gone off the chain lately. Between all of the like naked midgets and bikinis dancing all over the place, and the heavy set chicks trying to show their butts off, it's like I'm just on here to say hi to my mom. Something has definitely changed with Facebook. It's
yeah,
not the
they
Facebook I
got hit
remember.
hard with the AI generated stuff.
See you later, Off Grid. Yeah, I don't know what it got hit with, but it's definitely not the Facebook I remember from a couple of years ago. Like, and all of the chicks they're trying to show their bodies off on the Facebook. What they're trying to do is get you to go to their OnlyFans.
Yeah.
And so they post stuff that doesn't break Facebook's whatever, but they're trying to tempt you over to, whatever. And like, I kid you not, one of these people is a midget. She's a little person. She can't be more than 2.5 feet tall. And I'm like, okay, I guess if you got a hobbit fetish, right?
I don't know. I think she falls a little short of my expectation.
Look at you being witty. Can you imagine dating someone 2 foot tall? It's like you'd never get any rest because no matter what she wanted, she'd be yelling at you to get it for her. It'd just be like, God, get a stepladder or something, lady. What the hell? But anyway. I am doing the base coat, which is a pretty dark red, on my rhinos. And I do the one section, and then when it's dry, I do the other section. So that I don't end up with paint.
Is that a Warhammer tank or a real life tank, a Rhino?
This is a Warhammer tank.
Okay.
Based on the fact that Games Workshop has no imagination, so they just copied the American 113. Except then tried to spruce it up with a little sci-fi shit. But like, if I hold up a Rhino next to, an equivalently scaled 113, especially if it's a 113 paratrooper, model. Yeah, they're so similar that they might as well be the same thing. It'd be like that meme from The Office. They're the same thing. But that was it's like the original Land Raider that Games Workshop came out with. was based on the British Mel tank from World War One. Because the British used to do their tanks male and female, and females typically had nothing but machine guns, and males had actual howitzers. And that's why the tank has tracks all the way around it, and it has sponsons on the side with guns and blah, 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 right? Because nothing in Games Workshop is original. Nothing at all.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
They started off as bootleggers.
They did. They start off as bootleggers. They got in trouble from TSR.
Well, they got in trouble for everyone until like they got big.
How you doing, Rob?
All right.
My buddy Rob's over. You guys sometimes see him post on live streams. We're probably going to play a game. And, you know, we're going to probably eat and then maybe play a game. I got a really fun game. Escape.
Or no escape.
Yeah, or no escape. Yeah, you start out in like the center tile, and you've got your only mission is to get off the tile. If you can get off the tiles, you win. But the problem is every round, players draw up the 3 tiles, right? And they can put the tiles in front of you. And some of the tiles might have like 9 spaces on them, right? And you've got to roll dice that only go from 1 to 3 to see how fast you can move. So, you know what I mean? It's like the whole game is you trying to escape a space station that's getting ready to, you know, fall apart, and everyone else trying to screw you over.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about this. Well, not telling me, but like talking it on the stream. Yeah, that you really wanted to play this game.
Yeah, it plays really fast, and there is strategy to it. And
apparently I didn't understand the first time.
Yeah. And if you're a fan of like playing games where you can screw your friends over, this is the game, man. This one will bring out all of your most evil urges.
Nah, I think there is worse game like Monopoly and Catan.
Against humanity.
No, because in this one you can actively, like, you can see that your opponent is like 1 or 2 spaces away from escaping, and you can drop a freaking thing in front of him that's a dead end. And the thing with the game is you can't turn the facing of your meeple except in dead ends and T-junctions. And the only time you can change your facing in a junction is to decide which way you're going to go in the junction. So if somebody puts a dead end in front of you, your only option is to go to the end and turn around and run all the way back. Oh, it's so brutal. It's so brutal. So what time is it in Denmark?
3 minutes to 1 a.m.
That is
so. Yes,
good.
I should get off the PC in like a moment or two. And
well, I
again.
mean, you know, I'm glad you popped in. You know, I always love hearing from you.
I appreciate it.
Building a campaign map. Are you using a computer or the old pen and paper?
Right now, I'm using a computer. I can post what I'm working on and what my previous version on your Discord.
Okay.
Real quick. Let's see. Oh yeah, that was the Adventure Conquer King one.
Oh. What program?
Oh yeah, your name of your server. I mean.
Yeah, Adventure Conquer King. What program do you use?
For this one, it's a Worldographer.
Oh yeah, with the hexes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I have that one. I also have Incarnate.
There's a couple of good map programs out there.
There are.
Okay.
There's a really good one that's overly complicated.
I had that World Builder one. God, I hated that.
It's great once you're done, but doing everything is the pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's so.
Like once you're done, you're like, yes. this
If
is
you're a
perfect.
professional map maker, that program might have been the good one, but it was so complicated. You had to deal with like layers and shit like that. And I'm
Okay,
just like, look, I'm just trying to draw a map.
Just
Right.
some squiggly lines on the board, on the paper.
Right. I'm not trying to like, win a prize over here or something.
So yeah, I posted both of them in your role-playing channel.
Cool.
And the second one, the reason I cut out a whole island and like changed a little how the mountain works is so the way Access suggests you Adventure Conquer King system 2 suggests you put up your map is like basically the lawful areas, the lawful areas, the neutral areas, and the chaos areas.
Right.
And I basically had built so much lawful areas, so it would mean the campaign would have a little different meaning, a lot different focus if I did that.
Yep.
Which would have been fine, like if the players, like what do you call it, wanted to do quarterly intrigue or warfare between colonial nations. But yeah.
Yeah, in the Aran Empire, you have basically the Aran Empire is lawful. And then the Germanic empires north of the Aran Empire are like neutral.
Yeah.
And then beyond the borderland, the Zaharan desert or whatever, that's chaotic evil as shit.
Yeah, because that's all the leftovers of the sleeping Saharan undead and their beast folk.
Yep. Yeah.
Because they actually then, they accidentally nuked themselves.
Well, what kind of happened is the elves came first.
Yeah.
But they invented lizard men. And the lizard men learned the magic as good as the elves and overthrew the elves and enslaved them.
Yeah.
But then they didn't ally, they enslaved the Zaharan humans. And the Zaharan humans eventually got control of the magic and overthrew the lizards, which everyone thought was going to be awesome because now humans are in charge. But then the Zaharan humans were plotting to basically exterminate all the other humans.
Yeah.
And
then the Saharan got overthrown by actual lawful humans.
lawful humans with the help of like deities.
Yeah.
Or angels.
Yeah.
Whatever
it's actually kind of interesting what happened even before that, like even before the Bitter War, that basically everything was quote-unquote hunky-dory. Then the warriors went to war. Then there was the giant tsunami that wiped out the elves' forest, and they had built it up like that their forests were so ancient that they get like divine power from it, and that's where the immortality came from. With that wiped out, like 90-something% of their population were gone.
Well, also the elves were not good guys.
Oh no, that's after that they were wiped out. That like
except for the elves in the northern forest.
Yeah.
Because when the Elven Empire started worshiping the chthonic gods and being dicks, some of the elves were like, "We're out of here," and they went to the northern forests.
Yeah, and the turning the chthonic god happened because like I said, they lost their immortality and they were very desperate. And then the chthonic god like whispered into their ears.
Right. Like in one of the adventures, you're underneath like one of the cities and you end up running into a bunch of mummies and stuff, but you find a statue of the elvish god of I don't even know what, and it's like a gigantic Medusa, but with like a snake instead of legs, but its face looks elvish. And you know.
Yeah.
That's the main big city that's not the imperial city, starts with a C. And the deeper down you go through different empires. It's like when you
Yeah.
dig down, you go to the like the part that was made by the lizard men, and then eventually you get to the part that was made by the elves. It's I mean, Macris, who I haven't talked to in a year, and that's sad, is pretty much awesome.
Yep.
And the reason I haven't talked to him in a year is 100% my fault. Because he and I used to talk at least weekly. And I just kind of, I don't know, maybe I forgot. I don't know what happened. But maybe I felt embarrassed because I didn't buy Axe 2. I don't know. I mean, but I still got all my Axe stuff, and I'll never get rid of it. And I still think the Arn Empire setting is one of the best pre-written settings ever. I've got the Axiom compendiums. Buy this axe. He's talking about putting out a buy this bow.
Oh yeah, before all others.
Yeah, so
which is the Elvenated book. I already, what do you call it? It's on what do you call Kickstarter right now.
Right.
And it got funded like within the first hour. And right now, I believe it's around 110,000 or something like that.
Yep. Just wherever you go, be aware of your surroundings if you're going to talk about Adventure Conqueror King.
Oh, I know.
If you go to like E-Bombs World or whatever it's called, the Ennies, I don't know if they're still doing it, but like a couple of years ago, if you even mentioned Alexander Macris, it was like an instant ban.
Yeah, I know. Other than like Reddit, still shit talking. I believe like the other forums,
well, Reddit's just cesspool shitheads anyway.
The RPG forums, I think the conclusion were like they will just enforce neutrality, that no one is allowed to talk about it.
Right, which is so weak. It's like, congratulations, you're the weak man that makes hard times. Because you can't be bothered to tell these scumbags to shut the F up and let people, you know, have opinions, right? It's like, anyway. I mean, Pundit's site, you can talk about ACK all you want. Of course, Pundit will show up and try and sell you.
Yeah, I have. That will admit that's one of the reasons. That is the reason I stopped watching his videos. It's not I don't dislike the guy, but man, could he is he really wants you to buy his books, even when there's nothing to do with the topic. And I don't mean like, oh, I have these books. It's like, here's all the books, and here's what you want for this, and this what we want for that. Like, it would have been fine if it wasn't every video.
Yeah, he can be a little bit of a pressure salesman, I guess. Maybe he just really needs the money.
That could very well be it.
And he's like, dear God, please, somebody buy my books before I die.
I don't think it's that desperate.
The Nether City, yeah, that's so good. I mean, but every adventure that Macris put out is a copy of a AD&D adventure, and he did it on purpose. Like the first one, where you gotta go to the Roman fortress and do all the shit, right? The level 1 adventure. What's it called? Something
the
on
level
the,
up, the Keep on the Borderlands. Not the Keep on the Borderlands.
no, but that's what he copied.
Yeah, it was called. I have it right here. The Sinister Stone of Sakara, and then the third book is Capital on the Borderlands.
And the Sinister Stone of Sakara is B2.
Yeah, it's a good version of B2, but it is B2. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I might even go far enough to say it's a better version. But then again, I am a B2 fanatic.
I do agree with you that it's a better version of B2, but that's also because what B2 is suffer from is it was an early adventure, so they haven't figured everything out. So there could be more in it, definitely.
Yeah, see, the thing is, you got to understand how Gary thinks, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I 100% understand how Gary thinks. I don't know if anyone does. But in this case, I do know how Gary thought. And Gary thought, I'm going to give you this adventure that's full of crazy shit. And you being a DM, you're going to invent like 10 times even more crazy shit. That was kind of, so when people complain that Gary Gygax's adventures are kind of like away, it's like because the dude literally thought you as the DM would fill in all the shit he didn't put in. And he didn't put it in because he's a bad designer. He didn't put it in because he wanted you to put it in.
Oh, no, I never said he was a bad. I have never meant to say.
Oh, no, I don't think you would ever question his design abilities. I'm just saying when people talk about certain things, that was his concept. It was, I'm going to make this adventure. I'm going to leave all this shit blank. Like in B2, there's that one dungeon, or no, that tunnel that is collapsed in.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't tell you anything about it other than it'd take 100 hours to clear it, right? So what's on the other side of that tunnel? Don't look for Gary to tell you, because Gary didn't put shit in there. You know, that's up to you. You figure that shit out.
To be fair, he also had the design philosophy, at least true, that a dungeon should always be able to expand it. And when you write like an official dungeon, there should be another area that you have to fill out.
Right. Like B1. That entire adventure is just like, this is room whatever, and you can either choose or roll on a table to see what's in it. And it even had blanks so that you could write in what you put in it.
Yeah, I do remember that. I know Mr. Waltz, he's very fond of that done.
And that was just, you know, that was not lazy. That was not him trying to get over. That was like part of his entire game philosophy, was that you know, you come up with your own stuff. There is a quote, and it's 100% true. Gary Gygax is quoted as saying that he envisions a future where if you went to a game convention, there would be 100 people, or no, 100 tables all running D&D, and every single one of the games would be running it different.
Yeah.
That was kind of his thing. Yes, he come out with tournament adventures and shit like that, but he really wanted people to take the rules as given and just go buck wild.
I mean, there were also the three Garys, as they call them. The one that originally, what do you call it, released Dungeons and Dragons, and then the one that realized he needed money, and then the one that retired. Well, not retired, but the one after he. Okay, I guess that's 4 Garys, but the one after the 4th Gary is the one after he was done with coke and hookers, which admittedly he only got into because that's what you did in Hollywood.
Right. I was going to bring up, yes, don't forget that Gary, who took Ernie with him. So I don't know what was going on there, but okay. Ernie was in Hollywood with Gary.
Yeah.
Going to all these producer parties and shit like that.
But yeah, that's basically what I've been told, but from people who know why Gary did that, other than like it was fun. Is that's basically how you. That's the sugar you need to
It's
attract
called
the ants.
networking.
Yeah, it was networking, but he said it like that's the sugar you need, haha, to attract the ants.
Yeah. Yeah, it's networking. And then, of course, the Bloom brothers destroyed TSR while he was in California. But, yeah, I mean, you know. Now, the main unfortunate thing about Gary's behavior is that his hot ass wife divorced him.
Yeah.
And I
She
don't know
was
if
the
you
one
know
that
this
sold
or
her
not.
shares, right?
Gygax's first wife was freaking a smoke show. Like, for real. As a matter of fact, she was such a smoke show that one of the other guys that, like, was it Errol Otis or whatever, had the hots for her so bad that at one point he had a statue of her made, topless,
Oh dear.
and gave it to Gary and her as a present. And Gary was like, cool, and put it on the mantle of their fireplace. And it was her as a topless pirate.
Oh my god. That's funny though, but oh my god. And sorry for speaking the Lord's name in vain. But anyway, wasn't that also her who like hired a detective to see what he was doing while he was employed? And that's where she found out he was just playing war games with his friends in a basement somewhere.
Yeah, she supported his business and everything 100%. But when she heard about the LA stuff, it was like, she was like, no, we're not doing this. And that's unfortunate, which I'm sure Gary loved his second wife. But yeah, if you ever look up, you know, the original Miss Gygax, it's like, oh my God, how did he get her? Did he bribe her or drug her or something? Because it doesn't make any sense. Because, I mean, I'm not trying to say anything bad about Gary, but, you know, Gary looks much like what you would expect to see at a game convention.
Yeah.
She does not.
I mean, it's probably
Fritz Lieber. Yeah, it was Fritz. You're right. Fritz Lieber. Thank you for the correction. He was obsessed with her. I think he even based characters in some of his stories off of her and shit like that.
Oh God. But yeah, I think the reason why he got her was basically charisma, because he is a charismatic guy. And this was also the before times where like your circle of people you can get involved with was a lot smaller. So, and she didn't sound like the type who had like a go to Hollywood moment or go somewhere bigger.
I think another big part of it was that was back when the husband was the prize. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's totally flipped now. But there was a time where the woman was like, oh my God, I sure hope I can, you know, find a decent man that'll work and take care of me and be whatever. And yeah.
So yeah, I think I will head to bed now again.
Well, hold on 1 second.
All right.
Let me see. Damn it. I hate when I do that. Okay, stop being retarded. There's still a chance. No, not you, me. Is this the one? I don't know. I don't know. Let me see what it says. I think it is, but I'm not sure. But let's see if we can do a thing. I'm going to do a thing real quick. Okay, that appears to be the thing I want to do. Of course, this is back in like the 70s, so
yeah,
you know, the pictures not great, but yeah. And he was a balding dude with glasses. And she was a fit, beautiful redhead.
Yeah.
It's like, you know.
How's his children split between his wives?
I think they're all from the first one, not the second one.
Okay.
I think when he married, I want to say Gail Gygax, he was already way past children.
Yeah. Let's see.
And I think his first wife's name was like Mary Joanne or something like that.
Yeah. He married Gail, what do you call it, in 87.
Right. So
And
by 87, that dude was like 50 or 60.
Yeah, he was born in 38.
Yeah. So think about that.
Yeah.
He was 49. But him and the first wife, they cranked out, I think, 4 little munchkins. Ernie, I believe, is the oldest. Luke is the youngest. And then there's a sister or 2 in there also.
Hmm.
But you never hear anything from the sisters. You know, they're just kind of. Now, unfortunately, Ernie, you know, he had his problems and passed, I think.
Yeah.
And Luke was in the hospital recently as well. But I think he'll be fine. But Luke grew up and decided to join the military and ended up a captain in the National Guard. And also I talked a bunch of shit about him, like he's a piece of crap, blah, blah, blah. And then I seen a picture of him flexing. I was like, oh shit, I hope I don't see him at tournament. Because that dude's arms are freaking jacked.
So about did Mr. Gygax Jr., can I buy you a beer instead?
Right? Yeah, like, I might have said some words in haste. No, I was mad because I felt like he turned his back on Ernie. And me and my brother, we have a very specific set of rules that we follow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the 100 main rule of all time is never turn your back on your brother, no matter what. You know, I don't care if a company was trying to give me $1 million to talk shit about Hungar. I mean, I'll talk shit about Hungar for free, but I would never betray him.
Yeah.
You know, and I felt like Luke did, and it pissed me off. But I could be wrong. I don't know. But either way, the guy's big and could probably freaking swing me around all over the place. You know what I mean? Not saying I wouldn't fight the guy, and I'm definitely not saying I'm afraid, because I don't even know what it's like to be afraid. But I am saying he's a big son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So.
Okay, I can see.
But Ernie was the cool one.
Yeah. Okay, I can see, like, he's basically the type that he looks better with the thick beard than like a newly shaven beard.
Yeah. He definitely needs the facial hair. He definitely needs that facial hair. And Ernie got in trouble for just having opinions about trans athletes that pissed somebody off. And
basically,
then everybody wanted to
most
turn
Americans
their backs on him. And it's like, no, I won't. Alexander Macris did not turn his back on Ernie either. So, you know.
Okay.
Brett Lieber, yeah. He was obsessed with Gary's tall redheaded wife. It was like for me, I would never would have let him near her, or I definitely wouldn't have invited him to the house. Yeah. And if he showed up with a sculpture of her topless, I'd been like, what? You know. But Gary apparently was just like, hey, cool. You know, he's like, whatever.
I'm not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth.
Right? I mean, it's like,
I can't make one of those.
Yeah, like, all right, cool. But
yeah.
Anyway, get some sleep, homie. I'm gonna go deal with my guest.
Okay, have fun.
And I will talk to you if you're awake tomorrow.
I mean, I hope
And
I wake up
everyone
tomorrow.
else, thank you for the corrections. And thank you for sitting here watching me primer and somewhat base paint a bunch of Epic Scale Imperial Guardsmen. I don't even know. Should they even be called Epic Scale because they're 8mm instead of 6? I don't know. Now I do know the next thing I'm going to put together is the second bunch of tercios for my Imperial Guard, so that when I build the Imperial Guard, I'll be filming blobs of them. You know, like afternoon, everybody. Afternoon where you are. It's evening here, but yeah. If I ever end up playing my Imperial Guards versus the Blood Angels, I want every one of my Imperial Guard Corps Tercio units to be like 50 freaking counters, you know, bases. I mean, I want those bastards to be a mob. And then maybe I'll have some elite units that I'll use the lighters to drop in places to take objectives. And the hope is that actually my artillery will take care of the hard work, but we'll see. Anywho, chat with you guys later and have a wonderful rest of your Sunday.